My name is Aaron Barwig. This is my hydroponic farm. My company is Keay Produce. We got two 4,300 square foot greenhouses here. We do hydroponic lettuce and tomatoes over there. And I've only been in operation about 2 years. This will be my second real winter season growing. So I'll put them in a plant tray like this. It'll start off in a plant tray like this in an oasis sheet, and it pretty much sits in these sheets for about 2 weeks. Your lettuce seed takes typically 3 to 4 days to germinate, and I give it about another 10 days to grow up so it doesn't get harmed in the transplant. So then I transplant them out of there after 2 weeks into these wrap systems. And then depending on the season and the photo period and how much light we're getting, so in the wintertime, it can be as slow as 8 weeks to full maturity, but in the summertime, it can be 5.5 weeks because the days are so much longer. So if your pH gets too high, and it can actually inhibit the plants, and the thing you have to deal with the lettuce is as the plants mature, they release ions into the water that actually raise the pH. So if you leave mature plants in there a long time, it can actually raise the pH. So basically you have to periodically add a little bit of acid to bring the pH down, because the higher the pH gets, the slower they will grow. So you definitely want to keep it in that acidic range, 5.5 to 6.5. But then your EC, from what I can tell, it's not super important when it comes to lettuce. Tomatoes definitely a lot more, but the lettuce seems to be happy anywhere between like 1.0 and 2.0 EC. It's not very picky from what I've seen. So I've got some sticky traps here which seem to work pretty well. That's a very hands-off way to catch bugs in a very safe way because it doesn't use any chemicals. And I never spray the lettuce with anything. Obviously, it's I'm harvest. I can't spray these with anything. So it can be tough dealing with pests. There's a new emergence in the industry. It's called Kangen water, and it's this electrolyzed high pH water that you spray on your plants, and it kills soft body insects. And I haven't been able to explore that. I've been talking to a few companies, but that would be an option on something that I could put on these plants because it's just water. But other than that, sticky traps and just insect netting to keep them out in the first place is pretty much what I'm going with right now. There's a lot of different seed companies out there, and I work with Johnny Seeds, and they have a very amazing disease resistance package with these lettuces. I mean, they really resist the downy mildew just from the way they've bred them. So we have a butterhead lettuce here. It's called Rex, and we also have an oak head, or oak leaf, a red oak leaf, and then a red in size that they call the red crisp. So it's good to have a little mix. Then you can make spring mixes, and I think as far as weight though goes, if you're selling by weight, your butterhead's definitely going to be putting on your most of your weight. So it's a piece of cake to grow lettuce in the winter, I'll tell you that. But it's quite warm here in Missouri in these past couple of years in the summer, and when lettuce gets warm, it does what's called bolting, and it likes to put on a center stem, and it's basically trying to go to seed because it thinks it's about to die, and that causes it to get bitter. So the hotter it gets, the more bitter it becomes. So that's definitely a difficult part of growing in the summer. And I've only really had one season under my belt, and trying to prevent heat. But yeah, we've got this is a 50% shade cloth, and I leave it, it's a little bit warm today, so I've got it closed, but it'll be open all winter to really let in maximum sunlight. I've got a little light meter over here that tells me exactly the ppfd that I'm pulling in, and the lettuce likes it in between 3 to 500. Full sun on a bluebird day can be as high as 2,000 micromoles, which is 4 times what I'd ever need. So lettuce definitely likes a slightly shaded environment, even in the spring and fall. But wintertime, since our days are short, we get cloudy, shade cloth is open all the time, full sun. So we'll take a mature raft like you see back here. We'll carry it into the head house. We'll harvest all the lettuce off it, get it all clammed up and in boxes. And then I'll carry that raft out back. I'll hose it off, all the extra roots and stuff, dead leaves, anything that's on there. I'll give it a washing with some soap. Get as much plant material off as I can, and then I'll take it inside and I give it a 3% bleach solution, spray down, and basically let them dry, and then they're ready to be planted again. And it's just important to, like I said, these are pretty disease-resistant plants, but just to reduce algae buildup and other stuff, which isn't really a problem, but just keeping the sanitation is good. It's going to be better than not being sanitary. So you definitely want to be on top of it. So in order to work with larger companies, you first need what's called GAP certification, which is Good Agricultural Practices. Basically that's showing you understand the processes from being sanitary, sanitary harvest and all that stuff. So you got to have logs and things where you're keeping track of stuff, what was sanitized when and that kind of thing. And then FSMA is also another inspection. That's the Food Safety Modernization Act, and that's basically making sure that farms are, adhering to the new standards that we're researching and realizing, and to make sure that everybody's being sanitary. So those are the two that I'm working with right now. Working with smaller companies, they're not really concerned with your certifications, your smaller farmers markets and that kind of stuff. But in order to work with the big companies like Schnucks, they're gonna want to know that you know what you're doing. So if you want to have the big connections, you have to have these certifications. Just sort of being on top of your logs. Like sometimes the paperwork can be a lot, trying to keep up with that kind of stuff. But luckily my coworker is on top of that for me. But just keeping up with the paperwork is really what it is. A lot of these certifications are really just paperwork. The actual exercises of it is sort of a small part. So really just showing that you're keeping up with your logs and that kind of stuff, that's the main thing.